Now I have to give a disclaimer. These are scary stories. You don't have to abide by this, but we recommend about 10 years old is where that is. And again, if you're below that and your parents think that you can handle it, so be it. We're not going to kick you out. But I just want you to know, it's a little scary. Our first storyteller tonight is Wendy Gourley. Wendy comes from Utah. She actually, I don't even know if she knows, I know this. She used to go to Rick's College. Yes, you did. I swear she told me that once. This is terrible. Never mind. Her cousins did. See, I told you. Yeah, we go with it. All right. Well, Wendy Gourley comes from Utah all the way out from the other land of the Mormons. So, enjoy. Again, don't get too scared. If it's too scary, just stick around. It'll be good.
Well, I'll start you off just a little gently. We'll kind of ease into this, okay? No one really knew if the old man gave his daughter a name. But since she was such a frail fledgling and had the most lilting voice, everyone just called her Birdie. She and her pa lived far up in the holler, and she was as elusive as a warbler. And just like a warbler, you were more likely to catch her song than to catch sight of her. Oh, the cuckoo is a pretty bird, and she sings as she flies. She brings us good tidings, and she tells us no lies. When she was younger, some seasons she would show up at school, and that's where she met Johnny. Hey, how come you're always singing everywhere you go? Oh, it's just bird twitter. Oh, what's that? Well, the birds are just twittering and talking to me, and I'm just answering them back. Well, I wish you'd twitter to me sometime. And as these two grew older, the whole town thought that they would marry. But the war came, and Johnny didn't come home. And Birdie's songs changed. As time draws near, my dearest dear, when you and I must part, how little you know of the ache and awe of my poor aching heart. Each night I suffer for your sake. Believe me what I say. You are the one that I love best until my dying day. As time passed by, Birdie just kept to her home and her garden while her pa tended his still. The folks that saw her most were the ones that snuck up the holler to buy some of pa's radiator whiskey. One that came more than most was Buck. Buck had paraded back in town after spending a year out wrestling cattle out on the plains, and he came back with a pocket full of money, a tongue full of stories, and a fist full of lasso. He was always preening around like a peacock, showing off his rope tricks. He was one of pa's regular customers, not only for the moonshine, but also for the late-night card games. Well, one day, when no one else was around, Birdie was working and singing out in her garden. I wish my breast was made of glass, wherein you could behold upon my heart. Your name I wrote in letters made of gold. In letters made of gold, my dear. Believe me what I say. You are the one that I love best until my dying day. Good afternoon, Birdie. Well, good afternoon, Buck. Well, Pa's out back by the still if you want him. Buck stepped into the garden. What if it's not Pa that I want? There ain't nobody else here for you. And he stepped closer. Come on, Birdie. I know your heart's fluttering for me. I know that name you wrote here is mine. You ain't never gonna have no part of me. And Buck just laughed as she ran out of the garden. Someday you're gonna change your tune, Birdie. Someday I'm gonna own you. And that night, Buck made sure that her pa was good and drunk, and he kept raising the stakes until he was muddled and mired in debt. Listen here, you old buzzard. I now own everything you have. Your money, your still, this house. But I'll trade them all if you give me Birdie to wife. And so the deal was struck. And without a buyer leave to Birdie, Buck moved in. And like a caged bird, her songs grew still. Buck's friends were always hanging out at the house, and Birdie worked herself to death, cooking and cleaning for them. And soon, her pa began to get sick and died. One day, she was bone tired. It was fall, and she could feel that the weather was turning. And just as she laid her head down, she heard, "Birdie?" "Yes, Buck." "Come on out here and let's show these fellers our favorite game." Birdie shuddered, but she knew it did no good to defy Buck when he'd been drinking. The men's breath hung chill in the air as she stepped out into the yard. "Look here at the fine little brood hen I have. Pretty as a picture, too. Birdie, why don't you show these guys how graceful you are? Why don't you show them your little dance?" And he began to let a length of rope out on his lasso and to spin it lazily over the ground. Now, what you may not know about a lasso is it's not made of the same rope that you might have out in your shed. It's woven tight, hard and unforgiving, made stiff to hold the shape of an open noose. Birdie looked down at the red spots on her thin, translucent skin. "Buck, it's late. Why don't you send everyone home and you can come on in to bed?" "I said, hop, little bird." Birdie knew that no matter how fast she ran through that yard, no matter how much she darted or leapt, that noose would snag her and burn into her skin. But that night, as she looked around that circle of sneering faces, something inside of her snapped. She didn't know how she was going to do it, but she was going to get through that yard and she was going to keep on going. "Don't make me come over there and get you hopping. I'm a-comin'." You would have thought she was going to leave the ground and fly. She was moving so fast. And everyone was shouting and hollering, and she was just to the edge of the yard when snap, that lasso caught the edge of her hand and crack, Buck pulled hard. She nearly stumbled from the pain as her arm hung limp by her side, but she pushed through the pain and she slipped that rope off of her hand and she kept on running. "Oh, Birdie, come on back, we're only funnin'." She didn't stop until she was well hid in the trees. "I said come back now. I'm gonna lock you out if you don't." "I ain't foolin'." But she stayed still. I guess that took the fun out of the evening, and she could hear the men getting in their cars and driving out of the hollow. Buck stood on the porch. "This is your last chance, Birdie. You're going to be sorry when you come back here begging for mercy." And then she heard him slam the door and slide the lock. Birdie shivered. It seemed awful early in the year for a killing frost, but it sure felt like one was coming on. The cold bit into her thin cotton dress, and her feet, her bare feet, were already numb. "Maybe if I can just keep moving, I can make my way to town and to keep warm enough." And she headed off. She pushed the pain aside, and she started off. But every step seemed to grow colder. After a while, the pain in her arms subsided as she began to feel funny, light and fuzzy, her heart a hummingbird, beating quick and shallow. But she kept on going, heavy step after heavy step, until she tripped on a root and went sprawling into a pile of leaves. And she lay there and listened to that hummingbird slow, slow, and stop. Later that night, as one day turned into the next, the full moon rose over the rise in the holler, and a slash of moonlight fell across Buck on his bed. He stirred. He thought he heard something. "The blackest crow that ever flew will plummet from its flight." "Birdie?" And then he remembered that she had run away. "I'm warning you, Birdie. I'm not letting you in." But the voice came near. "If ever you prove false to me, bright day will turn to night." "I said go away, Birdie." It was her voice, but it sounded different, strange and soaring, somehow like a bird set free, and it came closer. "The blackest crow that ever flew will plummet from its flight. If ever you prove false to me, bright day will turn to night." Her voice was ringing in his ears. "Birdie, go away!" "Bright day will turn to night, my love. The elements will mourn. If ever you prove false to me, the seas will rage and burn." The next morning, they found Birdie, blue and still in a nest of leaves, her arm twisted like a broken wing. They looked for a week for Buck in that holler, but they never did find any sight of him, except for one curious thing. On the porch was a fuzzy pile of fibers, stirring in the morning air. And when they looked at it closer, it was determined that it was the frayed remains of Buck's lasso. Folks still say that they can hear Birdie singing up that holler. Some say that it's the most lilting song of warbling love. Others hear the strains of their deepest nightmares. I just think folks hear what's already found in their own hearts. You gotta watch out for those birds set free. Believe me when